What's up, y'all? As y'all know by now, my name is Danaé, and I'm here with another episode of my podcast, Damn Mom, Really? A podcast that nobody wants to be on, but everybody wants to listen to. And today I have an amazing guest with me coming in all the way from Florida, Tamar, and it's what I love so much about what I do in this platform is that I get to meet so many different people who have a shared experience with me, the commonality of losing our moms through other people who have also lost their moms. So if you guys have been following the show for a while, or even if you have not, Asia Allen came on the show with her sister Autumn a couple months ago. And so she told me about Tamar. We connected. I was like, look, do you want to be on the show? He was like, boom, I'm there. And so now we're here. He has a podcast as well called the Down to Business podcast, correct?
Correct.
Awesome. So yeah, I'm super excited to have him here today. I love interviewing other people who are familiar with the podcast space, but I'm going to shut up now. Tamar, how you doing today? Tell the folks a little bit about yourself.
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. You're actually about to make me refine my intro. That intro is fire. I need a better intro than mine. I need a better intro, or I may just need you to do my intro. So we'll talk about that.
I'm always here.
But no, big shout out to Asia. But yeah, to everybody tapping in, man. My name is Tamar Turner, born in Bronx, New York, raised in Philadelphia. So big shout out to all my Philly folks, 215. But I've been in Tampa for September will make 3 years. So really moved out here. Yeah, after the pandemic, it became really hard to find a job. I had my master's. I thought I was the next best thing, going to be on TV. You couldn't tell me I wasn't going to be Stephen A., Shannon Sharp, all of the above. But the pandemic had other plans for us. I humbled myself. The job process humbled me, and eventually just got tired of working at Target. But no, I would say really even to take it back a little bit further than that, yeah, grew up predominantly in Philadelphia, left New York when I was 2, loved everything sports, loved everything public speaking. Once I got to like the middle school, high school, really just what drew me to North Carolina for where I did my undergrad was my sister actually went to Wake Forest. So I started looking really down there. Always heard North Carolina as like a secondary education place. So always just good schooling, always just good backgrounds. And naturally, my first 2 schools, Syracuse and James Madison, they had waitlisted me. So big shout out to them. Maybe it was a blessing in disguise. Maybe I just needed to be at ECU in Greenville, North Carolina. But yeah, spent an amazing 4 years there, spent an amazing 13 months at Syracuse getting my master's, and now have been out here more recently in Tampa, going on 3 years. So when I first got here, I was working for Amazon. Really just got tired of that, driving, dispatch, and everything of the sort. And now I work for a company called WeWork. So I think it's actually like 4 locations in Philly, WeWork-wise. But yeah, one down here in Tampa.
Okay.
And we just hold it down. I love really talking to people, meeting people, everything of the sort. So thank you so much for having me. I really love this, what you're doing with this platform.
Oh, thank you so much. And right. I love WeWork. I've worked at like WeWorks before. I really vibe with like the communal workspace. I don't know. I like to
Yeah.
talk, so that works for me. But that's awesome. Well, shout out to you. It sounds like you're doing some amazing things, and I'm super honored to be sharing this space with you today. So I mean, let's get into it. We're here to talk about our moms. We're here to talk about the shared commonality of not having our moms. And so, first things first. Are you a Q?
Yes, I am. Oh, you saw that. Yeah, I did a quick look. Yeah.
I'm a
I'm a big shout out
Delta.
to the
Yeah.
word.
Yeah.
So we really got
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, I'm gonna have to edit that out. Sorry. I was like, oh my God, that's so exciting. But anyway,
yeah.
let's get into it. So we're here to talk about our moms, and I would love to learn a little bit about yours. So first things first, what is her name?
So my mom's name is Taya Nichelle Nicolette Turner Smith. So yeah, I gotta put some. Actually, even found out at my grandfather's funeral in January that because I asked my grandma, I said, "Where did Nicolette come from?" Because I thought it was just Taya Nichelle, Turner Smith. They actually said Nicolette was her confirmation name. So that was something I learned this year. Yeah, had never known that. But yeah, Taya Nichelle Nicolette Turner, and then when she got married, it was Turner Smith.
Got you. Okay. Okay, we putting some respect on our girl's name. Get all the names right and in order. Love that. So you said you learned this about your mom this year. How long has it been since your mom passed?
So November of this year will make 12 years. So my mom passed away 11/22/11. So 11/22/11. Yeah, so crazy date in my head.
Wow. Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm curious about a couple different things, but the first thing I want to touch on is the fact that you're still learning things about your mom after she passed. I think that's so special. Do you have, or have you had other moments like that where you learned things about her that you didn't know after she's transitioned?
Yeah, even I would say family has been a big thing, just from showing me pictures, just to early memories,
Mhm.
just to even really talking to a lot of her coworkers who I consider my aunts at this point, who
Yeah.
I've grown up with them. They take care of me. I know their kids. I've even helped, watch after some of their kids. But yes, always, I feel like there are always stories surrounding my mom, always just experiences from people who I know, from people who I don't know.
Mhm.
But everyone just talks so highly of Miss Turner Smith. So yes, I would definitely say that there hasn't probably been a year that I haven't learned something or found out something or saw a new picture or saw. Sometimes my brother or my family has pictures that I'm just like, yo, where'd you get
Yeah.
that from? Or my uncle will have pictures, her brother or my aunt. Yeah. So I've met family members as a result of my mom's passing, like aunts and uncles that I probably would have never met otherwise. So it's been a journey for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. I can't even imagine. And I think, like I was saying before, I think it's so special to be able to learn more about your mom after she's transitioned, because it's like she lives on in a way. And I think, at a certain point, you feel like you know enough about a person, or you feel like you know everything. But to be able to add on different layers of who she is and her personality and things like that, even though she's not here, I think is really awesome for you. Are those moments like moments that you revere? Do you take it seriously? Do you like, or is it kind of just like, oh, I'm getting to know my mom deeper?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely surreal moments. I would say one, it depends too on the situation itself. So like if it's a funny moment, yeah, we'll laugh, we'll joke about it. But a lot of it I do take to heart. I try to remember. Sometimes I even write things down
Mm.
just because it'll be from family that otherwise I may not communicate with, or who I haven't talked to in a while, or it'll be a memory that's that deep. Some stuff has come even before she had me at age 19. Some stuff has come even after me. So I think naturally just my love for talking to people, my love for being inquisitive and wanting to know more has kind of helped with that. But yeah, everything that I'm kind of told, while I treat it situational, I take it all in the heart. I take it all to heart.
Yeah, last week I saw a picture of my mom and dad that I had never seen before, and it's crazy because I showed it to my dad, and he was like, "I don't think I've ever seen this picture before either." I'm like, "Well, that's definitely you." So it is funny that
Right.
moments like that happen, and it definitely for me deepens the relationship that I have with my mom, and it also kind of reinforces this idea that she really is ever present and omnipresent. My loss was only a year ago, though, and yours was 12 years ago. And I'm assuming we are, around the same age. So, what was it like for you, being a young adult or a teenager, kind of going through life without your mom being physically here?
Yeah, it was tough. I would say that. So I lost my mom. I was 15 years old. I was a sophomore in high school. So it was rough. Like it was unexpected. My mom passed away from something called right ventricular cardiomyopathy. So essentially, her heart was too large, and then one day it started
Oh.
beating irregularly, and it just failed. So why the doctors pretty much told us the death was 1 in a million was because she didn't show any symptoms. So they said, had she had high blood pressure, had she smoked, was she had stopped smoking, had she like diabetes or anything like that, this is something that they could have just treated. They would have tested for it, would have showed up, and they would have took care of it accordingly. Another reason why they say it's a 1 in a million death is because it's hereditary.
Mm.
They tested everybody, like immediate family, husband, everybody. My grandma, my little brother, my sister, everybody. Nobody had it. So they were just like, yeah, this really just happened. So to really be told that, to really my last words to my mom was me leaving out to school. She had just got selected to work from home. Me and my stepdad put up the nice desk for her and all of that. Like. So my last words to her was a have a good day, I love you. Like that was it. And then I'm getting a ride after football practice to the hospital. So being a teenager coming from football practice in that moment, not really understanding everything, it was tough. It was rough. It was just like the next morning I woke up in my grandparents' house, and one of the first things that they asked me was, "What do you want to do?" And I was just like, I need to go back to school. I need to, just waking up in that house, waking up with her and my mom, waking up somewhere where I wasn't used to.
Yeah.
It was just like I said, a lot of time my grandparents, they lived 10 minutes away from me back in Philly, but I'm not waking up on a weekday there. So that was different for me, and it was an adjustment. But I told myself, all my life I've pretty much lived where when I'm going through things, I grind it out. I stay busy. When I'm not going through things, I grind it out. I stay busy. No matter what emotion I really have, the grind for me and just keeping busy has been a coping mechanism. And it wasn't until I got older that I really realized this is my response to a lot of things, traumatic
Wow.
events, just life in general. When I'm mad or when somebody ticks me off, what do? I grind harder. I go harder. Or when I get sad news, like when my grandfather passed, yes, I was devastated. Like couldn't get out the bed, but did that turn me up the next couple of weeks, and has it turned me up since? Absolutely. So back then, man, I really just wanted to go back to school. So I think after my mom's passing, I probably returned to school like 2 or 3 days later,
Wow.
and I just wanted to go football. I just wanted to get. I needed to get my mind off it. I couldn't sit in the house. I was going crazy. People were telling me, just take your time, because I went to a Catholic private school. So the brothers were telling me, you do what you have to do. You take your time. It's no rush. Figure it out. But for me, I needed to get back in mode. I needed to get back in my routine. I fell off. And yes, being in school, like, do I regret that decision to go back so soon? No. Like, should I have taken more time to probably process and figure things out? Yes. I'm a 15-year-old boy with a little brother who was at the time either 7 or 8.
Wow.
So he was 4, 11. He was 7. So basically, I knew that I had to, and this is my stepdad. My dad had, so to give a little bit of background, my mom had me when she was 19, dropped out of
Mhm.
college. My dad left when I was 2. So essentially, never really met my dad, don't really know my dad. I saw him again when I
I
was
was gonna
8.
say, and
And it was
still, you don't really know your dad.
Yeah, no, I saw my dad when I was 8 because I used to go to my aunt's house for the summer up in New York, so that's her brother. So what I remember is one day I pretty much walked out into the kitchen to get something to eat. There was a man sitting at the window, and all he said was "Good morning." So naturally, I see a man sitting there. I'm thinking that's my aunt's company. Good morning.
Oh,
That's
you
it.
didn't
That was the only
even
words. Nah, that was the only words we spoke to each other. I didn't even know what he looked. Yeah, 8 years old. I did not know that was him. Yeah. So I came to find out the next day. My aunt was like, "That was your dad," and I'm just like, "Wow!" Like, that was the only real interaction that we've had. So, and I've never really cared to talk after that. He tried to reach out to me on Facebook, but it just wasn't something I was really feeling or just wanted to do. So I've kind of just grown at peace with that. So moving forward, my stepdad stepped into my life at 2 years old. But I will be the first to tell you, yes, while I have the utmost respect for that man, and while I am admired by his decision to do that. I'm admired by all just fathers in general. Take care of their kids, stepdads, take care of other kids,
Yeah.
whatever. I would always say that we did not have the best relationship growing up. A lot of times I was a mama's boy, so I took my mom's side with a lot, whether it be arguments, disagreements, things going back and forth when I was in trouble, whatever. Like, so that was rocky. But I also told myself that, all right, it's me, my little brother, and my stepdad in this house. 3 men, we got to figure it out. And then 2, I had to set a better example for my little brother. I don't need my little brother to see us beefing or going back and forth or just arguing or me not listening or anything like that. I want to be that example for my dad. But I would definitely say as the years kind of went, we got closer for sure. Like, high school ended better. College, it was up in the air. Grad school, it was okay. But now I don't really talk to my stepdad. We don't really have the best relationship. It's a very long thing. But in that really moment and dealing with everything, it was a lot for me. But I will say I had a support system unlike any other. But while I knew I had a lot of people around me, while I knew I had a lot of people who loved me, cared for me, cherished me, would drop the world for
Yeah.
me, I also knew that not everybody can relate to everything that I have going on. And I'm not that type of person to just be vulnerable. I'm
Mm.
not that. You ask my parents every day what they asked me how my day was, it was fine. Oh, well, how was school? Fine. How was class? Fine. Like, it was fine. Everything. How was practice? Fine. Like, you had to really dig stuff out of me just because, like, I'm a very internal person. I'd much rather deal with things on my own. I'd much rather hear y'all talk and you give me everything and I give you advice. And sometimes it's the pot calling the kettle black. I don't even follow my own advice. So now that I think back to, it's been almost 11 years ago, 15-year-old me, it was a lot, but I also felt like this was a new sense of responsibility, a new sense of accountability, but it also, for me, it lit a fire under me to want to better those relationships, to not take things for granted, to strengthen the relationship with my stepdad, to bring my little brother close. I tell people I treat my little, back then I did, I still do. I treat my little brother, that's my son.
Mhm.
Like, granted, he's taller than me now. He's a freshman in college, but that's I call him little big bro, but that's like my son. It wouldn't be anything that I wouldn't do
Yeah.
for him. So he was my top priority at that point. And just making sure that the house was taken care of, just making sure that the way my mom set things up and the foundation that she built, I just wanted to continue to do that, emulate that, and carry on that legacy for sure. So, yeah, being a teenager, it was tough, and especially because I couldn't really, even a lot of my immediate friend group had their
Yeah.
parents, so it was very hard to relate to them, and especially their mothers. Like, some had lost fathers and things like that, but everybody
Yeah, their
pretty much
mom.
had their mothers. My mom was a teen mom to a lot of people, so growing up playing football, she was the mom at all the games. She was the mom with the snacks. She was the mom. You come over to my house, the pantry's loaded, everything like that. So it was a lot of changes. It was a lot of transitions. It was just a lot of things that I became used to and comfortable and complacent with, in a sense that once it left, it was just like, whew,
Yeah.
wow, this is a lot. This is
Yeah,
reality.
and I definitely, at 26, I reflect those same sentiments, and I can't imagine going through something like this at 15. Like you, I have a younger brother as well, and so I would love to talk a little bit about, kind of stepping into that role. But the first thing I want to touch on is the idea of legacy, and how your mom set a foundation that she instilled in you, and you were able to receive fully. And my mom did the same for me and my brother, right? Like, she laid the foundation, she laid the brickwork, and it was kind of after she passed, it was like I had the tools to move accordingly. I don't want to say move forward. I don't want to say move on, because it's not that, but to move accordingly. And, at the age of 15, in my mind, and again, in regards to the bricklaying and the work my mom did, that started very early on, like from birth, from gestation, right? She infused those things in me and my brother. But in my head, at 15, those things that have been so relevant to me uh throughout my life, I feel like I wouldn't have been able to get that at 15. But you're saying that, like, you understood immediately.
Yeah, I would say it was because if she wasn't telling me, somebody else was telling me. My mom was the type of person, she would put your name in a room before you even got there. So it's just like, and that's not even necessarily always a bad thing. Like, yeah, when I got in trouble or when I did things I wasn't supposed to be doing, oh yeah, everybody knew
Mhm.
for sure. Like, it's that post going around now, how moms and dads just be exaggerating about stuff. Yeah, that was my mom.
Mhm.
She definitely would recall some situations. Be like,
Wrong.
mom, like I ain't even give it up like that. But it's cool. That's how you saying I carried it. That's how you saying I carried it. But yeah, it was as somebody who, I mean, I consider myself very intelligent. Not to say anyone else out there isn't, but it was definitely things that I just picked up on. When you hear stuff so much, when you just get in a routine. My parents, I would consider them very strict parents, and while back then it didn't really make sense to me, while having to explain who I'm going with,
The
where I'm
time,
going,
why?
why I'm going,
Yeah.
when I'm leaving, how we get in there, what time. Like, in the moment, I'm just like, yo, this is so exhausting when people can really just tell their parents, hey, I'm going here, so and so. All right, have fun, be safe. And it was just like, for me in the moment, I never understood that. And it wasn't until as I really got older, I'm realizing, like, wow, I see why. And especially growing up in Philly, like, man, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous there. And I see it. Like, so yes, I would say very early on, a lot of this was instilled in me. And it wasn't just instilled in me by my mom, it was instilled in me by my aunts, by my uncles, by my cousins, by my stepdad. Like, he reinforced things just the same. So you get that over and over again. You kind of almost are conditioned in a
Yeah.
certain way. And you move a certain way, you act a certain way. I always used to, even with my friends, we'd be out and about. I know there's no way that my mom will find out about this. My friends want to do certain things that we wasn't supposed to be doing. I'm just like, in the back of my head, like, man, if even a slight hint of this get out, it's over for me. It's over. So, I always thought about things like that. But yeah, from middle school, even elementary school, like just about doing the homework, about not being able to go outside or do nothing like that until my chores and my responsibilities were taken care of, about how we didn't do C's in my household. Like, how if you come home with a C, you better have tried every single thing in your
Mm.
power to have had. Like, and I need to hear it from the teacher, parent teacher conferences. The teachers are getting on me, and my mom just letting it happen. Like, she gave the teachers free range to do whatever. Sometimes to me, like we all got them black teachers who,
Mhm.
yeah, don't make me. Hey, I got your mom
Yeah.
personal number. So it was just like, yeah, and in the moment, all of that just seemed like overkill, or just like, come on, like, what are we doing here? But to really grow up in an environment like that, and to really have those principles and things like that instilled in me at such a young age, I'm so beyond grateful for it as an adult. And maybe I was always telling myself that, yeah, parents always say you're gonna thank me later, or you'll appreciate this someday, or it'll make sense. And yeah, as the kid, as the adolescent, you're like, no, it won't. Like, no, you're talking crazy. Like, you're just doing this because
Yeah.
you're in charge. But man, if I didn't get to college, and a lot of stuff just came naturally to me, or just came easier to me, because one, of Philly, but also because of
Yeah.
just my mom and what she instilled in everything. So yeah, really reflecting on that now, and just to realize that, yeah, only 15, only a sophomore in high school, but just the way I was thinking, just the way I was moving, I owe it all to her,
And
for real.
I relate to that idea of being a teenager and wishing that your parents were more lenient. I don't think that my parents were really strict, but I definitely wouldn't say that they were super lenient either. I remember, having friends who could go out and, like, whenever they wanted, and come home whenever they wanted, or they could have, like, company of, like, the opposite sex sleepover, and it was nothing. And I had a curfew, and I mean, I thought my 11:30 curfew was bad, and I was 17 at the time. I'm like, I was like, why can I have the freedom that my friends have? It? And like you, I definitely understand the importance of it now. And again, not to compare lives, but I've seen like the difference that it's made in me and my brother in having those sort of guidelines, um, in place. But I do want to ask you, and I'll give you a second to think about this if you want to. Do you think that losing your mom so young, do you think that it kind of robbed you of your childhood, or do you feel like you didn't feel that way or don't feel that way?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say at the age that I did,
Okay.
no. Just because I kind of felt like I was really on the tail end of my childhood. I really consider like a child, like your childhood is over once
Mhm.
you're done with high school. Like once you kind of go out on your own or whatever you choose to do after that,
Yeah.
work, college, military, whatever. But do I look back on certain things now? Like my mom has never seen me graduate
Yeah.
past 8th grade and think about that. Do I look at certain accomplishments or just accolades or things that even my little brother was able to do that had I been in his situation, yes, I feel like I feel robbed of a child because he was 7 years old. So even in the moment, he couldn't really comprehend everything, but he's just as intelligent as I am, if not more. I ain't gonna give you more, but hey Makai, shout out little brother. You very smart brother, but I got it. But no, but really just thinking about everything that I was able to go through and experience and really recall. A lot of my memories are of my childhood and with her, and just from playing sports to just the school events to just taking me places, taking me to work with her, meeting her friends, going on different family reunions, and everything like that. I think about all of that, and I really think that was like the peak and the bulk of my childhood. So, no, if anything, I really feel like it spoiled my adulthood a little bit
Mm.
because now I think about things as an adult. My mom is not going to see my first child. My mom is not going to see marriage. My mom is not hasn't really. I mean, I was 15. Yeah, I was having what I call little girlfriends and things like that there, but my mom hasn't met my girlfriend since then or anything like that. I'm single now, but anything that came before that, anything that's going to come after that, she hasn't. So I feel like it definitely has changed my approach to adulthood. Or there are certain things that people are just experiencing in life changes, buying a house, moving to a new city, anything like that. The podcast that I just think that she'll never just really be able to experience or never be able to have. So I feel like I definitely lived my childhood through and through. I did what I could, even through, she didn't even see me, she got me into the high school per se. Like, I say got me in because, like, well, one, she was the one that kind of orchestrated me, like, applying, because I didn't want to apply. You talked to me back then, 14, 13 years old, going to all boys school wasn't happening. Like, nothing homophobic or nothing that on that side. But no, I've been around public school, around my friends all my life. You telling me you about to put me in the suburbs, outside,
Yeah.
all boys, and they just do that sports, that's it. But the school probably, like, I'm not doing that. But took the test, did whatever. So, but no, I feel like now moving and grooving, going to college, seeing those life things, seeing everything happen, I feel like it's definitely changed my approach to my adulthood, just thinking about my mid to late 20s now, just thinking about my 30s and my 40s and how I moved through that
Yeah.
and grew through that.
So, I mean, you've had quite some time to kind of come to terms with this idea of not having your mom for these future things. I mean, I guess if you have.
Yeah.
So, I should back up actually. Do you think that you have come to terms with the fact that your adulthood is so much different because you don't have her physically here with you?
Yeah, and I would say it definitely comes with situations. So like when I was moving, just thinking about things like that, leaving the city, leaving my home and everything like that to really come down here and do that. When I went to get my master's, even before the move, when I graduated college, now that I'm thinking about
Mhm.
buying property, eventually want to start a family and everything. So while I say I definitely won't say I've come to terms with it all. I definitely just think I'm taking it kind of scenario or situation or just one thing or one accolade at a time. But then I'm very big on. I would say I'm spiritual. Whereas people say they're like religious, I think I'm
Okay.
more so spiritual. And I think about a lot of times how I can just look up to the sky and I can just smile or I can just point or I can just
Mhm.
start talking aloud
Beautiful.
and she be there. So while she can't really be here in the physical, I know that everything that I'm doing, one, is a result of her, but two, she's right there with me and she's assisting me on it because I wouldn't. While I'm very driven, motivated, everything of the sort, I'm still a human being. I still wake up and don't feel like it some days. I still wake up no motivation. I get down on myself. I'm very hard on myself. I'm a perfectionist, so it's just like think about things like that. But I also think about how she's guiding
Mhm.
me along the way. Another angel. I tell my boy all the time who lost his mom similarly and his grandmom around the same time that I did that. It's angels all around us, bro. And sometimes we just really don't realize it. We really don't see it,
And
but
do you
they're there. And I
I'm
feel
sorry,
like
go ahead, I'm sorry.
hmm, no, it's something that I feel like back then I didn't really understand or I didn't really think about. I more so focused so much on the physical. And because my faith was challenged back then, like I was really going through it. Like that was something that I didn't really touch on earlier. But at 15, I was angry. I was mad at the world. I was mad at God. I was questioning God. I didn't understand it. And I did, back then I used to think that death and things like that, it just only came really if you did things wrong or if you did stuff you wasn't really supposed to do. To me, hearing 1 in a million, man, I wanted to do everything to them doctors. Nobody wants to hear that. But as I've grown older, as I've tapped in more and just read more and just come to terms with myself and really just sat with all those emotions, I've realized that yes, the spiritual, the angels, the metaphysical, whatever you want to call it, is just as much important. So yeah, while I'll say I won't necessarily have come to terms with it all, I would say I'm kind of working through everything as it really happens in my
And I
life.
relate so much to this idea of like I'm definitely very pissed off and very angry, and it comes out a lot in the way that I handle conflict, I think, or just the way that I internalize things. And I've definitely been viewing myself under this kind of like microscope of trying to understand patience and trying to be patient with myself in those moments. But I definitely feel you. I feel angry a lot. Before this, like I would say I'm spiritual, not religious, but I prayed all the time, like talking about God all the time. And my mom was like so heavily in the church, and to me is like the perfect example of what a Christian woman, a Christian person should be. And so when I lost her
Yeah.
suddenly and tragically, and even in the beginning when you're like, yeah, I spoke to my mom and everything was fine, and then like it just wasn't. That was my situation too, or that is my situation too. And so thinking about all these things, my relationship that I had with God, the relationship my mom had with God, and all these things, it does make you angry because it's like that doesn't make any sense to me. As humans, we try to make sense of things, and when things don't make sense, it's frustrating, and you're looking for somebody to be mad at because it's like somebody did this. We view life as like cause and effect. There's a causation for every effect and vice versa. And so for me, I remember being in the hospital like cursing out the doctors when they told me that my mom didn't make it. I was like, what the fuck do you mean my mom did? Like, you could hear me all the way down the halls of the hospital. And I had my own stuff going on at the time too. I was also injured at the same time I lost my mom. But I'll give you all a little bit of that context and you can put together the story because I don't, But anyway, so I relate to that so heavily, this like idea of being angry and like not trusting God and not trusting people. My faith is definitely like shaken completely. And I don't know if you've read Beloved or if anybody else who might be listening to this has read Beloved, but it's a really great book, especially if you're somebody who's dealing with a really heavy grief right now. And in part of the book, one of the characters, Baby Shugs, is talking to another character called Stampede. And essentially what she's saying is, there's this whole bunch of stuff that's going on in her life, and she's a minister and she stops ministering. And, he says to her, like, oh, like, this is your form of punishing God. This is your punishment towards God for what you feel he did to you. And she responds, I mean, I'm not punishing him more than he's punished me. And so this idea of being angry, I think, is so relevant in grief. And I think that it needs more space to be talked about because it's like if you exist in any realm out of just general, oh, I'm sad, people are looking at you like you're crazy, you're wrong, or you're just doing everything the wrong way. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately because I think that our anger towards God in those moments, I think, and our withdrawnness that we exude as a result of a grief like you've experienced and I've experienced, is a form of punishment. And I've kind of been trying to understand like what that does for me and why that's needed and why that's necessary. But again, I'm doing all of this rational thinking at 26. I can't imagine trying to
Yeah.
rationalize that at 15. And so I hope that at 15 you felt seen. And if not, I hope that you're feeling seen now in this moment, that your inner child is feeling seen in that way, because I can't even imagine trying to rationalize and even understand the basis of saying, okay, my anger, my disdain, my withdrawnness, my pulling away, like that is my method of punishing whatever powers it is that be that you believe in for what they've allowed to happen.
Yeah. It was no, you're absolutely right. That's a very relatable sentiment just because I remember getting to the hospital, pulling up and seeing my dad's mom. And that's really when I knew something was wrong. Because my friend, basically my boy who I grew up with. Shout out to Raekwon. We went to high school together. Excuse me. So his dad would pick us up every day from college.
Mhm.
From practice. I'm tripping. We lived on the same street. We lived on Fayette. He just lived on. I lived on the 7400. He lived on the 7900. So it just made sense to drop off and everything. So and normally he was the dude. He picked you up. The seat all the way back in the Crown Vic. He got the music blast and all of that. When I tell you, like, we get in the car, the
Hmm.
music is real low. He not really saying too much. And Ray kind of asking him like, "Yo, where we going or what's going on?" And he was just like, "I'll talk about it when we get there." And he didn't say nothing. And I don't know if this is me. I don't know if this is him. But once he didn't drop me off and we still going, I'm just like, yeah, this got to be like something for me. But I'm still confused,
And
like still not knowing what's going on.
you
But
remember
once
all
I
of
pull up to the
this.
hospital, well, for sure, like I remember that car ride and everything, like because we had just got out of football practice, so I remember all of that. And once I walk in and I see, well, once we pull up to Einstein, I'll never forget it. And that's why I just don't like Einstein to this day. Like didn't really like him before, but really don't like him to this day. But yeah, once we pull up and I see my dad's mom, like my other grandmom out there, I just was like, yeah, something ain't right. And then I remember I talked to the first person who I talked to was my dad, and um, when I hugged him and he kind of told me what was going on, I remember my immediate reaction. I just pulled back from him and kind of looked at him like, "What?" And he told me that's something he'll never forget to this day, like almost as if I was in disbelief. I mean, I was like, "That's nah, like nah, ain't no way, like nah, you joking." So, but yeah, going in there and at that moment where I feel like responsibility really shifted for me was when I walk in there, my grandmom is already in there, so her mom, my mom's mom, and she turns to me and almost falls in my arms like at 15 years old. Like that's when I broke down. Like that's when I was just like, wow, like this is real. Like, and I in the moment, like I had never seen that woman break down. My grandma is through and through probably the nicest lady you'll ever meet. I tell my grandma, I mean, I tell people we're both Leos, but I'm a July Leo. She's an August Leo. We're two totally different people. I never even heard that lady curse. So it's just like I don't, she had me in the church at the Sunday schools treasurer, so we was there all day. But then she picked me, yeah. So that was really tough for me, and I'll never forget that hug to this day because it was just like that's when I really realized, wow, like you got to step up. And granted, in that moment, I'm not really thinking like that, but it always just kind of was in the back of my head, like you got to continue this, you got to make this go on, whatever really happened. Because my mom, I mean, she was only what 77, 23. She was
Wow.
34 when she passed. So it was just like, yeah, to hear all these stories, to hear all the impact, to hear just the light that she was in people's lives at 34 years old, like it's just like, wow, like this lady
Mhm.
was really something special. So, but to hear how many people tell me that,
Oh,
I remind them of my mom and just the way that I'm, just the look and just everything like that. I just felt like, I had I tell people all the time, like, I didn't really touch on this in the beginning of my intro, but with my podcast, it wasn't really until recent, even last year, like when I celebrated 3 years, that I really realized why I'm doing this. And it was because, like, this is what my mom did. My mom connected people. My mom spread love. My mom just wanted to talk to you, just to know about you, really even hear you talk and just listen and just give you what you need and everything like that. But to see everybody connected, to see the love being shared, to see people in different states and different cities doing everything, I know my mom just would have loved that. My mom really, she got down to business. So whereas like in the moment, just picking a name, thinking about the content, the platform, and everything, I wasn't really thinking like that. But each year, as I'm getting more of my purpose, as I'm just enjoying this more, I'm just like, wow, like this is really what my mom did. This is what my mom's doing. Like I haven't committed myself to anything for 4 years willingly that I wanted to do, outside of sports, school, whatever. So the fact that I'm locked into this, the fact that I'm really just doing this, the fact that I've switched locations, switched states, switched platforms, went virtual, did live events, everything like that, it just goes to show me that this is truly her living through me, speaking through me, all of that. So yeah, man, my faith was definitely challenged. And I felt bad just because it's just like, growing up and just being in the church and everything like that, you don't question
mm,
God. You don't ask why. You don't really think like that. So in the moment, I just felt wrong. But also, I was pissed. Like, you couldn't really, I was just react. I'd already had, the people who know me back then, I had a bad temper already. So it was just like, to mix that with the death too, oh, I was ready to
anything
snap
at
at
any
anything at
moment.
any moment. But I would really So, but having, I will say, my support system, having people who were just so open and accepting and understanding of everything, whether they had went through the situation or not, it really paid dividends. But like you kind of spoke on and touched on, I'm very internal. So a lot of things that I'm going through, a lot of things that I'm thinking, a lot of things that I'm dealing with, you won't necessarily know. You may know surface level, but you don't know where my mind is at. You don't know that I could be smiling, I could be on the episode, and I just had a rough day today, or I'm just not feeling it, or it's a lot going on. Because back then, something that was preached so heavily was
And I
time
hate
heals
I
all,
hate
or
I
this too
hate
shall
both of
pass,
those.
or just give it some time, it'll be okay. And in the moment, like I didn't really like that sounds good as a child. Like, okay, like yeah, we're gonna get through this, we're gonna make this happen. I'm gonna come out strong, I'm gonna be better, all of that. And I did. I came out. I'm much stronger. I'm better. I'm cool. But time doesn't heal. It's nearly 12 years, and I think about my mom every day. Heck, my screensaver does not change. Like from this day, if I could, I got the reminder at the top. But that's me and my mom. You know, so that's been every day since I lost her. So I don't. Well, different phones and all of that, but I don't. I don't believe in that. Like that time, and I even had to check myself because that's stuff that I used
It's
to tell people
cliche.
growing
It's
up because that's
easy.
what was told to me. It just sounded right. It sounded good. It made sense. Very cliche. But as I really realized in my moment, wow, it's 5 years in. It's 8 years in. It's 10 years in. Damn, she's still in my mind like it just happened yesterday. So, and I can recall so many things that happened up in the actual day, just memories before that, like everything. So for me, it's just like, no, it don't matter how old you are. That shit never, it never gets old. You never really, I never personally really become numb to it. That was my mom. And being a mama's boy, I think that's
Me
really
that
why
it
it hit
did.
me
Yeah.
that much harder.
My brother, when when we found out we lost our mom, one of the first things my brother said was that I have to take care of everything and I have to hold it down. And it reminds me of what you're saying, even if you didn't necessarily say it in those words, you felt that. You felt the weight of your grandmother, like literally and figuratively in your arms, which I think represents the family in general. I think that moment sounds really symbolic to me, that you endured with her. Sorry, it makes me like emotional to think about because I'm just like there's so much trauma around that day. But for you
All good.
to have to step up in the place of not only your mother but also in the place of a father figure for your little brother, what was that like for you? What was that responsibility like for you? And did it feel
I
like a
mean,
burden?
nah, never. I would really say never a burden, just because I never really looked at my little brother as a responsibility. I looked at him as like, well, first and foremost, that's my brother, but a friend. Like he was really like. Granted, we were 7, 8 years apart, which. If it was one thing I could probably change about me and him, that would be it. Just I wish we were age close. Like I wish we
Oh,
could
so
have
you
went to
guys are
school
really,
together,
yeah,
played
that's
football together,
beautiful.
did the thing. For sure, but 7, yeah, sometimes 8 years apart. So at 15 now, or 16 and 17, 18, just thinking about, because eventually I only had 2 really more years with him until I left for college for 4 years. So for me, no, it never, I always took care of my little brother, even with my mom and my dad in my life. So it was just like, business as usual type thing. But I now have to be just more cognizant, or I have to approach it from a different perspective, because I can't think that this 7 year old, this 8 year old, he's just naive. He doesn't know what's going on. Yeah, mommy's not in the house anymore. Mommy's stuff is slowly but surely starting to disappear. There's a lot of people coming in and out, a lot of condolences, a lot of flowers, just a lot of different things happening for him. And while I necessarily couldn't just sit down and have a conversation with him, I had to break some stuff down. We had to talk here and there. We played the game a lot. Me and him was big on
Yeah.
the game. Like that was all we did. The bump bed and everything like that. I used to have to kick him out sometimes because he was just doing too much. But no, I never really saw it as a burden or really as a responsibility. I really just saw it as doing what I was already doing, but just having to pick it up a notch, or just not having my mom there, or just having to, things that I would go to my mom for or call her about or text her about. I had to incorporate my dad now, because like I said, I was also thinking about trying to strengthen our relationship and become closer, because I wanted my little brother just to see a healthy household, whether we were missing somebody or not. So no, I never really looked at it as a thing of like, wow, like this is exhausting or it's a lot. Like, did it become hard at times? Yeah, because more so just because I miss my mom and I just wish that she could have been there with us, just going through the things with us. I was still in high school, so I was still having to deal with like that social side of things and just life and sports and getting ready for college and everything. And to tell the truth, like one of the biggest things that I tell my little brother and that I kind of apologize to him for was I apologize for leaving. Like, because in a sense, like, no, he doesn't look at it like that. I don't look at it like that. But I left in like I had to go I went 4 years in North Carolina. Like, yes, I only really came back holidays, checked in, but we talked a lot. But my biggest message to him was always just get out the house, get out of Philly, just go. And now that's why I think part of the reason why he's doing his schooling in North Carolina. So, I mean, in New Orleans, big shout out to him and Zula. But I would say, yeah, it became fun just because we became closer, like all of us, all three of us. It was just three guys in the house just doing God things sometimes, or sometimes just not talking, or sometimes just in our own little worlds, and sometimes all coming together to do different things or reflecting on things or stuff like that. So me and my little brother, we really, if we were like this, well, we became like this afterward. It was just like, that was really like, we were just that locked in. And it was always just a thing of in a sense, he always looked up to me. And I tell people that, damn, for as much as he looked up to me, I look up to him. Like when I tell people my brother is my role model, they don't understand that, but you don't understand like where I'm coming from. There were times where I was so hard on myself, or I couldn't make sense out of anything, or it just like, why would you do that? Or that was just stupid. And this dude made me feel like the greatest person in the world. Like I could do no wrong or nothing like that. So to get that over and over again, and that come from somebody whose opinion you really value and you really trust and you really care about and love, man. Oh, I was in heaven, to the point now where like I feel like I'm gonna call him grown. He ain't grown, but he's 19. But I would say to now, I still have some of those same mannerisms, or just want to be that protective figure, or just be that brotherly figure. Or sometimes I gotta realize that's really not my son. Like that man is like
Yeah.
6'3", like
Yeah.
200. Like, cool. But I'm just thinking about everything that was kind of instilled in me, just the relationship that we had. So to really see him grow older and grow into him, it's a beautiful thing. But I never take that protective thing off. Even sometimes they call me the older sibling just because my sister older than me, but I'm protective over both of them. Like I treat them, nothing can go wrong with my folks. And I think distance kind of plays a part in that too. Like we've always kind of been far. My sister still lives in North Carolina. My little brother, he's back in Philly for the summer, but he's in New Orleans, and then now I'm in Florida. So we've always kind of bounced around and moved around. So I think even that distance, it makes you appreciate those interactions, those
Yeah, and
conversations that much
again, just
more.
on the note of having a brother, a younger brother as well, I feel that same way about my little brother too. It's like I love it, and it's only me and him. But anybody who knows me knows that like I adore him so much, and we're closer in age than you and your brother. My brother's like 3.5 years younger than me. But I was just telling somebody earlier today, like my brother is younger than me, but a lot of times, and I've said this and I stand by it, he be feeling like he's smarter than me. Like I feel like he's smarter than me, wiser than me, and he's the one, he'll tell me about myself, or he'll tell me when I'm doing great. And I really appreciate our relationship for that. And I know he's a huge part of the reason why, I'm even still able to be here today. I'm curious though a little bit about this man's world that you guys are living in. I would love to know what that looks like, because for me, I've thought a couple times like,
Yeah.
oh, like what would have happened, to my brother and my dad if like me and my mom would have passed at the same time, or whatever, and what the house would have looked like. And in my head, it's like it looks a mess, and nobody's cooking and nobody's cleaning. And I mean, I live in New York. My parents' crib where my brother lives currently is in Philly, or well, Abington, Philly, whatever. And so it is kind of like a man's house, but I'm curious to know, I want the inside scoop. What does a man's world look like in the loss of the matriarch?
So I would say my mom was somebody who didn't play when it came to mess, when it came to food, cooking, everything like that. At one point, my mom really had me wanting to study culinary, and I would say losing her is where I lost my interest, just because I used to cook Sundays with her and everything like that. So that kind of disappearing and stopped my interest in all of that. But no, like with us, it definitely wasn't nearly as much cooking. My mom would cook 2 meals for the week, like Sunday, like let's knock this out. So we good cook even throughout the week if we ran out too fast. So for us, like
Mm-hmm.
we was food shopping differently. We definitely are big on that food shopping though. Like my dad even was always big on that. But the cooking was different. My dad can't cook though. It's just a matter of he was also dealing with like he's been always recovering from like double knee replacement surgery and being on disability and everything of the sort. So it's kind of just been a tough situation in that regard. But a lot of it was it's a fend for yourself mentality. Like it's a make sure that like you're okay. Like we checking in with each other, we're good. But like it's really just a fend for yourself. Like an average day could
Mm-hmm.
have been my dad downstairs watching TV, me
That's
upstairs in the room playing the game
so
with my little brother on his tablet, whatever. We all kind of just scatter, but we all get it. Like we all understand. We'll pop past the room, yo, good, whatever. Check in, come down, get a snack, talking, passing, whatever. So it was a lot of that. Like it wasn't really a lot of the sitting down as a family to eat. just doing a lot of things that we would do together. Oh no, the house was still getting clean. No, that wasn't happening. We as people were so conditioned to a clean house that the minute something looked out of place, like, or the minute something wasn't right, or the minute something just didn't, nah, we got to get that, or let's make this happen. We had pets too, so we really had to be making sure that we was paying attention. We had 2 dogs and a cat, so it was just like, think about that too. Think about the only thing that I would say probably got a little just more hectic was the room, like, because my dad, after my mom
Mm.
passed, my dad no longer slept in the room. Oh, he went to the couch downstairs. He would just sleep, kind of set up. We had a pull out too, so it turned into a bed, and we had air mattresses. So he kind of pick and choose what he did. So a lot of times he wouldn't come upstairs unless it was like bathroom, shower, or whatever. So we could kind of get away with whatever we wanted to get away with. A couple
Yeah.
curse words, sometimes drop whatever. Like, it just go like that. But nah, man's world. It's just less like, it's more in your own world and just knowing that everybody is good, as opposed to just kind of like really asking and really checking in and really, because mom was the type, shit knock on the door, shit come and shit pop in, do whatever, like talk, call you downstairs, whatever. So with us, we were all just really in our own world. That's really what a man's world looked like. You kind of just go out, do whatever. I was kind of getting older, so it
Yeah.
was just kind of in and out. I was in and out the house a lot, just moving around, going, working too, just the same. So yeah, that was really kind of like the inside of us. Like, it was just those moments where we would come together, where we would reflect and we have those conversations. But a lot of time, we'd all just do our own
Yeah.
things. We all kind of fell into our routine, and once we found that's kind of just what it was. But yeah, not definitely not as much as of the cooking, not as much as like the cleaning like we should have been. But we kept the house the way it should have been. But um, we just really try to fill in even that much more for even be there for each other. Like, we're not arguing about more so me and my
It
little
is
brother, who doing
good.
the dishes on, who cleaning the bathroom, who doing this, who doing
Yeah.
that. Like, I do it, just make it happen, or whatever. So, yeah, so that was really the man's world. We were enjoying ourselves and having a good time, but it definitely was a lot of like separate interaction, but just also understanding that as long as
So
we're
see,
all
like
under
now in
this
this
roof,
conversation, I
we're
feel
okay.
like I'm understanding men a little bit better because my dad and my brother are the exact same way. Like my brother will be upstairs playing a game, my dad will be in the basement watching football or
Yeah.
something. And for me, when I come home, I'm like, nobody is talking. But you're saying that you didn't feel like there was anything wrong with that. That didn't feel strange to you.
Like, for us, yeah, it was no real tension, or it was almost like
Yeah.
a what's understood
Go
doesn't
ahead.
need
I'm
to be
sorry.
explained type thing. Like, yeah, we all are feeling. Yeah, nah, you good. We all are feeling the heavy weight, the heavy heart. If we all know that if one another needs each other, we're here. We have a hell of a support system around us, just the same. But as men, naturally, and as us, as who we were, we just weren't naturally inclined to just talk. Or I told you kind of how I was, and my little brother really kind of follows suit in a sense a little bit. He was just really to himself. My little brother is very like hands on, like the coder. Like, he studies computer science, so he loves all of that, like technology, like so he could really be in his own room, and you think he just destroying the whole house. He in there building something or taking something apart or coding on the. So we all under, and you'll probably hear me occasionally on the game yelling at my friends, yelling at my boys, whatever. And as long as you heard the TV blasting downstairs, you knew my dad was good. So unless he called us for something, so yeah, it's like a thing of where the woman, you can definitely tell the woman is that glue, is that centerpiece to the puzzle. Otherwise, the pieces are kind of just scattered. And not to say it's in
It's just
disarray, but it's just one.
yeah.
I got the corner piece built over here. I got the corner piece built over here. I got the corner built down here. Now just bring it all together. So yeah, it could really just be a thing of, you walk in the house, you probably don't hear nothing other than the natural sound from the TVs, from the games, from the
Oh,
yelling.
that is
But
so
we're
great to
all
know
okay.
because
We're
I'd
all
be
a team.
worried. I'll go home. I'm like, because me and my mom, my brother and my dad are naturally more quiet anyway. Like, my dad is the quietest in the house. My brother is like a little bit more turned up. I'm like on a million all the time. And my mom was like a little bit more subdued than me. So that was kind of the ranking of things. But me and my mom were the talkers of the house. And so when I go home and it's like, crickets, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Are you guys like, I'm like, I've been to the point where I'm like, y'all all need to go to therapy because nobody's talking and y'all are just sitting in silence and like, what is this? But it is good to know that, because my brother will say like, oh yeah, I asked daddy if he was good, he said he was good, I didn't ask more than that. Or my dad would be like, yeah, Trey said he was good, so he's good. I'm just like, but did y'all ask like if he was okay and serious? So I think that is kind of like the way that women kind of handle things. So I love this. Thank you so much for like educating me on that, because I'd be concerned. But Tamar, I mean, we are at the end of the show. Before we go though, I want to ask if you have anything that you would like to include that we didn't necessarily get to include.
Well, two things. First, I just want to, for anyone out there, whether it's you have both of your parents in your life, step parents, lost a parent, becoming a parent, anything of the sort, just recognize that how you feel, how you think, what you're going through is always valid. Don't ever let anybody who's not in your situation or not dealing with what you were dealing with or dealt with you were dealt with, but handled it a different way, tell you anything about your emotions, about your perspective, about anything. You handle what you handle, how you handle at all costs, at all times. Everybody grieves, everybody copes, everybody mopes, everybody grows through and gets through things at a very different level. Here we are, a conversation with somebody who's almost 12 years in versus somebody who's a year in. And the fact that we can resonate on so many different things just goes to show you that it doesn't really change much as you go and as you grow. But you are always in control of your own fate, of your own destiny at the end of the day. And just to anyone out there, I'll always just extend myself as a resource. I'm pretty sure um, all my information will be included or be had. I'll give you whatever if you ever just need to talk, or even just me to listen, or just advice, or just anything you want to tap into the podcast, anything of the sort. Just let me know, and I'm always willing to offer myself as a resource to anybody at any stage in their journey. But secondly, to you, I'm very grateful. I'm very thankful. I'm very humble. I'm very appreciative.
Yeah.
One, for this
Yes.
opportunity. One, big shout out to Asia for connecting us, and sending my condolences definitely to you and the family, her and the family, to everyone who has been on this episode, who will continue to be on the episodes, who will continue to really make this the platform, really, just from the name itself to just really everything that you do, to just the episodes, to just the content. I know that's a lot, especially with dealing with things. You're fresh. You're really fresh
Yeah.
into it, because I still feel fresh, and I'm 12, almost 12 then. So it's just like, I really had to take my hat off, my imaginary hat in this case, to what you're doing, just because this is amazing. Like I said, you're, in a sense, you're giving a voice to some people who just feel voiceless, hopeless, nowhere to turn, no support, who lost the matriarch in their life, who lost, for some, their rock, that all they had, the woman who raised them, the woman who gave them everything that they knew, who carried them for 9 months. So I really just have to thank you, and I really also offer myself to you, whatever you may need, however we can help, not only the platform, but personally. Just let me know. I'm here. I'm locked in, and I'm just, like I said, I'm just thankful. I'm thankful that even for this, like, this was kind of refreshing, because it allows me to just talk. Whereas otherwise, I don't really have conversations like this about my mom, or I don't really get on platforms and really just express kind of what was going on or what was happening. So, but as somebody who just wants to get better with that, wants to be more intentional with everything that I'm doing, thinking about therapy, everything of the sort, this really helps. So, a big thank you to you. But I also want to give you the flowers, because what you're doing, is not, as I was telling you before, it's not easy. It's not going to get any, it's not going to get any easier, or it's not going to get any harder. It's really just going to be what you make of it. There will be good days, there will be bad days, there will be everything in between. But as long as you stay steadfast, as long as you recognize those angels around you, and as long as you really continue to love what you do, man, the sky's the limit. So I'm very excited for the future of this and what you have coming and everything. But no, from me to you, I'm very grateful. I'm very thankful. And whatever
You
y'all
are trying to
need,
get me to
whoever's
cry
listening, just
in
let me know.
on
I'm
this
here.
episode. Thank you so much for those lovely words, Tamar. And we absolutely will drop your information for those who want to catch up with you, link up with you. I've found that people are building their own community within the podcast space that I've talked to, and people who just relate. And so I can't wait to add you to the family. I'm super excited that you were here with me and that you shared your story. And I'm grateful that I was able to provide you a space that you feel like, hasn't existed for you in a while, and know that I am also a resource for you as well. You got me up here. We are talking. I'm like, damn, I want to call my mom. Like, I want to call and tell her about this show and like how great this is. But I believe, like you, that we are surrounded by angels and that my mom is listening. So thank you so much for being amazing, and your energy. You came out of there, the door kicking it, and you closed it the same way. So I'm super grateful for you. And I also want to thank y'all so much for listening to another episode of Damn Mom, Really? We'll see you guys in 10 days.